Chapter 8. Friends. Mora sat with her back to Dane. "I can't look any more," she was saying. "Tell me when she's done." The nearby cat-eyed shape was Kitten, who made a questioning sound. Dane lifted the dragon into her lap, then looked at the bigger shapes at the opening of the shelter. One was unmistakably Taka. The other was a stranger. "I'm done," she announced. Mora turned and gasped. "You're you! I mean, you're always you, but you were starting to look kind of squirrelish." "I'm sorry, I missed that," commented Flicker from outside the shelter. Taka said, "It is good you have returned. We have a guest. Aikoju, this is Dane, the human Mora spoke of." The stranger nodded. She was an ogre, clad only in a short, ragged tunic in spite of the damp. "Are you cold?" Dane asked. "We have a horse blanket somewhere." She found one and offered it to the immortal. "I said Dane would welcome her," Mora informed Taka. To Dane she added, "Aikoju's our friend. She wants to help us get rid of Yolaine and Tristan." Aikoju stared at the blanket, pointed ears twitching back and forth. At last she took it. "Thank you," she said quietly, and bowed from the waist. Mora helped the ogre drape the blanket around her shoulders. "She's running away," the 10-year-old explained. Placid eyes met Dane's without blinking. Despite skinniness and poor clothes, Aikoju was clean and smelled of soap, earth, and something vaguely spicy. Dane sniffed, trying to identify the spice odor. "Are you eating something?" Aikoju smiled. "Mora gave me candy." Mora blushed. "Well, she looked so scared when I found her, and I remembered what you said about people being mean to them, and maybe if somebody was nice." "There's one for your side, Badger," thought Dane. "Did you succeed at your mission?" asked Taka. Dane nodded and found her water canteen. Politely she offered it first to Aikoju, who shook her head and held up a gourd water bottle of her own. As Dane drank, Mora said, "Aikoju thinks some of the ogres will help us." "Why?" Dane sat by Taka, where she could see their guest. Kitten and Flicker joined her, Flicker curling up on one shoulder, Kitten on her lap. "Stormwings and Tristan lie," Aikoju said flatly. "They say, 'Come through gate, we give you farms to keep,' so we come. Only farms here are rock farms, underground. We say, 'Don't want mines, where are farms?' Tristan say, 'You farm what we say farm.'" She scowled. "Ogres are angry. They send me from valley to find kin clans. Kin clans come help, bashing lying men on the head." Flicker yawned and nearly tumbled off Dane's shoulder. She slid him into the crook of her arm and asked, "Didn't you have farms in the Divine Realms?" Aikoju shook her head. "Too many ogres. No room. We come here for farms." Mora frowned. "I don't understand. If you're peaceful, if you really only like to farm, how come you're called ogres? Ogres are monsters, aren't they? And how come your people are always fighting with ours?" "We are big," replied Aikoju quietly. "Ugly. Our color different from men color. No all ogres are same either. Some take what they want. Some fight with men. My people, kin clans, we only like farming, not fighting. Some ogres only like fighting. Are all men the same?" "No," Dane said thoughtfully. "Of course not." Mora poked the dirt with a stick. "It's a shame the lake's east shore can't be plowed. It's too steep." Dane sensed what her young friend had in mind. "The Faif is Yolaine's. I don't think she'll approve of ogre farms on the east shore." "Under law, she forfeits her lands for treason," argued the 10-year-old. "And the Faif isn't all hers. Half is mine. Papa willed it to me, and maybe the king would let me keep it. The way it was supposed to be, Yolaine would buy my half when it came time for me to marry, so it's my dowry. That's why I got the eastern half. It's mostly uphill, though," she said with a sigh. Aikoju's eyes lit. "We make farms. Find ridge, dig out cup, pour in growing dirt, make small valleys up and down, grow corn, beans, flowers, peas, herbs. We like growing. If ogres help you, will you give us farms?" "Mora cannot promise," Taka reminded her. It may be she will lose the land. Her sister, whose holding this is, plots against the crown. Taka's right, Mora told Aikiju, hanging her head. I guess I can't promise, not if it might not come true. The ogre looked at her, at the basilisk, then at Dane. Her mouth curved in a smile. Maybe I don't leave Dunlath. I go with you instead. We will talk. Dane was about to object and changed her mind. The badger's words were still very fresh in her memory. In any event, it couldn't hurt. Before she slept, she wrote a report for Numer, using a glowstone from her belt purse as her light. Once the report was done, she napped uneasily, dreaming of Hurox. The company awoke at dawn. The clouds had gone, and the day promised to be lovely. Dane's enjoyment of its beauty was soured by the knowledge that winged patrols would be aloft today. Cloud told her, We had best take another route to the pass, one with lots of trees. Aikiju will stand out like a bear in a puddle. A nearby stag told Dane of trails lower on the slopes, ones that skirted the mines and lumber camp and passed almost entirely under the trees. She led the way to them with a thank you to the stag. The tip was a good one. The path was wide, much used, taking advantage of every bit of cover the forest provided, perfect for much hunted animals like deer. As the morning ended, the path took them by the round meadow, past Flicker's tree and the Coldfang statue. Dane passed it with a shudder. Twice since meeting the creature she had awakened with a pounding heart, sweat-damp hair, and the feeling that something icy advanced on her, slowly and relentlessly. She would be glad if she never saw another live Coldfang, and it pleased her to leave the stone one behind. One other fear, that Flicker might choose to stay, faded when the squirrel made no mention of returning to his home. An hour later she heard an animal's call and signaled for the others to halt. "Where are you?" she asked. "What do you want?" A dog broke from the pines 50 yards ahead and raced up to her. It was the huntsman's head dog, one of the wolfhounds Dane had met at the castle. Dismounting, she said, "I'm sorry, I didn't get your name before." "I am Prettyfoot," the dog replied. Dane covered a smile with her hand. "It is the name the man gave me," the wolfhound insisted. "It is a good name." "It's a lovely name," Dane replied soothingly. "How may I help you?" "Please come," the hound begged. "The man is hurt. The wolves did it." Dane looked at her friends. "Something's up. I have to go with this dog." To Prettyfoot she said, "Is it complicated? Will it take me a while to help?" "I don't know if you can help at all," Prettyfoot said, dark eyes sad under wiry brows. "Our pack could do nothing." "Taka, will you take this to Numer?" Dane asked, pulling the letter she had written from her shirt. "I think the sooner he gets it, the better." "Very wise," the basilisk said, lifting Kitten from his pouch. "When it is delivered, I will walk back this way to find you again." He took the letter and set off down the trail, Longlegs carrying him quickly out of sight. "We go at dog now?" asked Aikiju. Dane nodded. "His master's in trouble, he says." "Tate?" Mora said, alarmed. "Then what are we waiting for?" Prettyfoot led them onto a new trail, explaining that his pack had been calling for help for a day and a night. No matter what they or the man did, there was no way to take him from the hole. In a small, rough clearing crossed by the trail, they found the rest of Tate's dogs beside a pit. They came running to bark greetings to her and Mora. Going to the rim of the hole, Dane peered in. Tate, covered in mud, leaves, and filth, sat at the bottom. Suddenly she knew what the wolves' plan for Tate had been. "Huntsman," she said, "you're in a fix." "Laugh all you like, girlie," he said tiredly, "but get me out of here." "I don't know," she drawled. "May I ask if this was a wolf pit to start?" "It was a lot smaller," he bellowed, "and the trail marks I put here to tell me where the damn thing was got moved. If that was your work—" "I haven't been next or nigh this spot," she retorted, "so don't raise your voice to me." She was tempted to leave him there. Mora had told her during the morning's ride that Tate had killed the last wolf pack to live in Dunlath. "Do not be angry," begged Prettyfoot. "He is cold and wet and hungry, and he smells." Dane turned to Aikiju. "I have a rope. Can you pull him out?" The ogre went to the rim of the hole and leaned over. A sound like a yelp rose from the pit. It's all right, Tate, called Mora, trotting over to stand next to the large aqua-skinned immortal. She's with me. Lady Mora, the captain said, what kind of company are you keeping now? The 10-year-old scowled. Better company than is at home, she snapped. And what's that supposed to mean, miss? Never mind, I'll tell you later. Aikiju looked at Dane and nodded. Man not too fat. I bring him up. With a sigh, Dane got the rope and gave it to Aikiju. I'm not doing this for you, Tate, Dane called. I'm doing it for your dogs. I don't care who you do it for, just as long as you do it before I turn gray. Aikiju took several turns of the rope around her waist and dropped the free end into the pit. Tate wrapped it around his waist in the same manner and grabbed the rope between them with both hands. Haul away, he yelled. Aikiju backed up. With some cursing on Tate's part, she dragged the hunter from his prison. The moment he was on solid ground, the wolfhounds surrounded him, yipping their pleasure as they nuzzled him. Seeing him up close, Dane winced. The pit didn't seem to be the cleanest spot in the forest. Tate now smelled greatly of wolf urine and dung. Have ye water? He asked, petting his dogs. And food would be fair nice. Mora gave him Dane's canteen. The first gulp went to rinse his mouth, the rest went into his belly. Warren's hoard, he gasped. I needed that. Mora offered him sliced ham and cheese. He shoved the cheese into his mouth as the dogs watched, licking their chops. Ye shouldn't be here, he said when his mouth was empty. He looked at Dane and Aikiju. No offense meant. Berate her all you like, Dane replied. If you can make her go home, it's more than I could do, or that Stormwing Lord. Things are crazy here now, the man grumbled. The lords don't care for land or people, bringing in monsters to keep their servants in fear. Shaking his head, he tore the ham up and gave it to his dogs. Seeing that Dane watched him, he looked down. Don't care much for more'n cheese just now, he growled. My throat's that sore from bellowing. Why, you softy, thought the girl. She got more cheese and 2 apples and gave them to him. For the dogs, she cut up the rest of the ham. Kind of ye, muttered the huntsman. They're good dogs, she replied shyly. They really love you, you know. I know. They could have left me, but they didn't. They run off a bear last night when it wanted to come a-callin'. He looked at Aikiju. Give a man a hand up? He asked. My legs went to sleep being cramped down there. The ogre held Tate by the elbows and lifted until he got his feet under him. He winced. I need to get this stink off me. He looked from Mora to Dane. Will you wait so I can wash? I've clothes and such hid by a stream nearby. I came out here with no plans to go back. Don't like what's happening in that castle these days. Dane smiled. With luck, she had another recruit. Go ahead. We'll wait for you. With Aikiju to lean on and the dogs frisking around him, Tate hopped off to his bath. As they passed out of sight, Dane heard him tell the ogre, No peeking once I'm out of my clothes, mind. I want to check something, Dane told Mora. Don't stray. She leaned against a tree and closed her eyes. Finding an eagle, she got permission to enter his mind. From the spot where he glided in the warm air that rose from the trees, she could see glimpses of Taka. The basilisk was on all fours and galloping, his long, delicate limbs taking him faster than she would have believed possible. He was close to the western pass already. Knowing her letter would soon reach Numer, she let the eagle take her where he wished. He flew low to avoid the barrier overhead, but he was still high enough to have a good view of the valley's heart. Not far from Tate's pit, Dane glimpsed the lumber camp. The wolves, it seemed, had achieved their aim. All work was at a halt. The camp was nearly empty. The few humans there lay idly about or walked lazily around the area. The eagle then flew south. Below lay the village and the castle, like toys. Smoke of an ugly green-brown color billowed out of a tower window in the castle. Every flying creature gave the weirdly colored plume a wide berth. Why? Dane asked the eagle. I do not need to fly through death to know what it looks like, replied her host. I do not have to bathe in danger when I know what it smells like. There is always something bad going on in that tower. We're going to stop it soon, Dane assured him. It's almost over. Good, replied the eagle. Tell me if you need help, and I will give it. When the bird wheeled north, Dane saw trouble. 3 creatures flew in crisscrossing patterns along the slopes where she had been the night before. The eagle squinted, and shapes came into focus. The bodies and heads of horses, bat-like wings as big as sails. The Huroks worked their way south, skimming above the treetops. They were hunting for something, and she had an unhappy idea of what it might be. "I have to go," she told the eagle hastily. "Thank you." She opened human eyes. Something huge and brown filled her vision and surprised her into a yelp that came out a keening screech. "I wish this would happen when I need it, not when I'm rushed," she thought peevishly, and blinked. The brown thing moved to show a patch of hairy skin. Trying to rush the change was not going to work. With a sigh, she began to remember Dane the human. She thought of nights in the rider barracks hearing stories, of sword practice with the king's champion, and of stargazing at Numar's tower. Under her memories now, she felt talons become feet, and wings become arms. When she opened her eyes this time, Tate sat beside her, a golden brown feather in his hand. It was his rough tunic and skin that had seemed so close. "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you, lass." He offered her the feather. "You lost one. Actually, you lost a few. Mora's got one." Dane looked around and saw only Kitten and Prettyfoot. "Where is she?" "You took her fishing." Raising her voice a bit, she said, "Kitten, get Mora and you. Huroks are searching the valley. They're coming this way." To the man she said, "Is there cover around here?" "The laurel bushes can hide Mora and the dragon." Tate stood. "There's a willow by the stream for Ikaju and the pony. The dogs can go where they like. I don't think the hunters will care about them." The ogre and Mora came at a run. All of them listened as Dane explained where to hide. They hid their belongings, too. Dane kept her crossbow and quiver. Tate had a bow of his own, a fine weapon polished and supple with much use. He strung it quickly. "They hunt me." Ikaju's eyes, the dark green of oak leaves, were sad. "They count us in mourning before work. My brother's supposed to say I am sick." "I guess they dinna believe him, lass," Tate said, patting the ogre's arm. "Not your fault. Get under cover. We'll sing out when all's clear." Ikaju tramped off toward the stream with Cloud and Tate's dogs behind her. Dane pointed to a spot where a fallen tree leaned against an oak. Where they met, the dirt underneath had worn away, leaving a hollow. From that spot they would be able to see the clump of laurel in the stream. Tate nodded and followed her to it. Flicker was already there, sunning himself on the log. Sitting next to the huntsman, Dane put an arrow in the crossbow's notch and secured it, then placed it at her side, ready to fire just in case. At the limits of her awareness came the first tingling sense that Huroks were near. Tate had tucked the eagle feather behind his ear. Now he ran it through his fingers thoughtfully. "Can ye change entire?" "No," the girl replied, fingering the badger's claw around her neck. "I can't even control what changes. I just learned how to turn myself all human again the night before last." "Aye. Laura said at first you thought you were mad." Tate's brown eyes met hers. "She told me why she left home. Do you believe me when I say I'd had no idea treason was afoot? I knew things was strange. That's why I left. But treason, that's worse than I thought." Dane studied him. His was a square, stubborn face. He looked as if he would be as bad a liar as she was herself. "Yes," she replied, and smiled. He smiled back. "Truthfully, I'm as glad she's here and not home. I don't think Tristan has the grip on what's going on that he thinks he does." "What do you mean?" The man teased Flicker with his feather as the squirrel tried playfully to grab it. 2 days ago I was in the courtyard when that female mage, Gisa, came out screaming. She was holding her wrist like her hand had turned into a serpent, yelling for someone to take it off. I saw a wee drop of red on the hand. The skin was bubbling like, and red streaks was growing on the back toward the wrist, like they do when a wound's gone bad. Tristan and Master Gardener was on the steps, and they just stared at her. Sweat appeared on Tate's forehead, so she run to the woodpile, grabbed the axe, and chopped her hand off. Dane stared at him. She cut off her own hand? Wherein leave me hungry if I lie. He wiped his face on his sleeve. Praise the goddess the last wasn't there. She'd have had nightmares for months, what with the blood and Tristan not caring about Gissa, but yelling if she let it boil over they were all dead. He run inside, didn't even try to help Gardner make the wrist stop bleeding. Dane put a finger to her lips, then pointed up. A large winged shape passed overhead, its shadow falling on the spot where Flicker had lain. Nearby she felt the other Huroks, their presence tainted, as always, with rage. They remained directly above for some time before moving higher on the mountainsides. "I think if we're quiet they won't hear us," she whispered. "They've gone off a ways, but they might come back." "You can tell where they are?" "When they're in range." "More witchcraft, then?" "Yes," she replied, and he shook his head. She knew this attitude too well. Some people were uncomfortable with magic. The more things they heard she could do, the more uncomfortable they became. Rather than argue, she changed the subject. "Who's this Weirin?" she whispered. "You mention him all the time, and I don't think I ever heard of him." "A mountain god of the hunt. He's rooted in the forest and rock, kin to all that walks or swims or flies. On Beltane ye can see him pass in the woods with his hounds. Got antlers like a deer he does. All us huntsmen swear by him." Something about that description was familiar, but she couldn't place it. "I never had much to do with huntsmen at home. Well, they didn't have much to do with me. Have you ever heard of my village, Ingala? Snowsdale?" The look he gave her was thoughtful and very sharp. "So you're that one." Dane felt herself turning red. "I don't know what you've heard, but it's probably blown way out of proportion." "Not after what I've seen today," the man said, and grinned. They waited for a long time. As they waited, Dane filled Tate in on all she knew, from the wolf summons to the orders she'd seen from Carthage. Just as she thought the Huroks were going, she sensed fresh arrivals. Stormwings. Keeping low, she checked on the others and warned them the danger was not over. As she rejoined Tate, screams and snarls exploded overhead. It seemed Huroks and Stormwings did not get along. "We could get old here," she whispered to Tate. "What are they looking for?" "The dragon, perhaps?" She winced. Kitten, it figures. She made herself relax and took a nap. When she woke, the Stormwings and Huroks were gone, and Taka had returned. They all left their hiding places, hungry and stiff. While Mora introduced Taka to the huntsman, Dane did some thinking. She did not like the story of Gissa's hand, not after seeing that oddly colored smoke over the castle. What were the mages brewing there? More trouble, like the barrier? A touch on her arm was the basilisk. "I am to tell you the soldiers are at the southern gate to the valley. Also, the king's champion and the knight commander of the king's own are there. Master Numar says that should cheer you up." Hope surged in her mind, and she asked silently, "Can he break the barrier with Lady Alana's help? She's a fair powerful mage." "He said you would ask. He and the lioness cannot break this working. It continues to absorb what power they strike it with, not reflect it. No mages can be spared from the city of the gods. Some are riding here from the south, and will be here in 4 days." The girl shook her head. With Tristan up to something, she wasn't sure they had 4 days. She had to know more, and that meant entering the castle. It took time to convince the others to push on without her. At last they agreed to move on toward the western pass until dark, then camp, while she and Cloud rode to a spot near the village. No one liked that decision, but Dane's growing fear that something bad was brewing made her overrule them. If Taka, Aikaju, and Tate could not keep Mora and Kitten safe, no one could, and only she could wander the castle with no one the wiser. Cloud worked hard to reach a place near the village before sunset. Twilight had fallen when they halted inside the trees on the town's fringe. Murmuring compliments, Dane rubbed her friend down. "Stop that," Cloud said when she was dry and clean. "Go do what you must." Dane opened her bedroll and lay down under the trees. "I don't know how long this will take," she warned her friend. Cloud was nibbling the grass that grew close by and did not answer. Dane's magic flowed out readily, reaching the castle before she had time to take 2 deep breaths. Inside its walls she found horses, goats, chickens, geese, and pigs. All nice animals in their way, although she detested chickens, but ill-suited to a search in a human dwelling. She was nearly resigned to asking the mice for help and praying they would not be seen. Then, in the kitchen garden, she found 2 cats. She approached the elder, a fat, dignified Tom, who busily washed the inky black fur of a cat not far out of kittenhood. Since the younger cat objected to the Tom's vigorous methods, he kept her in place with a powerful forepaw as he cleaned her white bib. When Dane interrupted, he stopped washing, but kept his grip on the younger cat as Dane politely explained her errand. The Tom, named by men Blueness, listened with interest. When she finished, he inspected his claws. "I am not sure that I am the cat you need," he told her. "There are nooks and crannies where a creature of my noble bulk may not go." He looked at the other cat. "You take the Scrap here. Even for a kitten she is most inquisitive, and she can get into anything." "Say yes," pleaded Scrap. "Please." Dane had to smile. "Thank you, Blueness." "Do not get dirty," Blueness warned Scrap, "or I will wash you again." "I can wash myself," the young cat retorted. "Not as well as I can," the Tom replied. "Now sit quietly while Dane does whatever she must to ride with you." Dane turned her attention to Scrap, hearing the cat's eyes blink and the soft pound of her heart. "Are you here yet?" asked Scrap, breaking Dane's concentration. "No," Dane said. "Almost. Hold still and hush." She listened. That was the sigh of Scrap's lungs and her heartbeat. Her stomach growled softly, digesting milk a cook had left unattended. Scrap yawned. "Well?" she demanded. "Are you ready?" "Now you know what I put up with," muttered Blueness. Dane focused hard, and Scrap gave a squeak. Now the 2 of them scratched an itch, and looked at Blueness with Scrap's eyes. He was the most handsome Tom she knew, his glossy fur a mix of pure white and sable black. She loved Blueness. She would follow him anywhere, particularly if she could attack his tail. She pounced. Blueness, with the ease of practice, whipped the tail clear and gave her a solid cuff with his forepaw. "Come on," Dane said, and showed Scrap images of Tristan, Yolaine, Belden, and the other mages. "I'm looking for them." "I can find them, but the female will screech and throw things if she sees me," Scrap replied. "Then don't let her see you," Blueness ordered. "Dane, keep her safe." "I will, and thank you," Dane called as they galloped through the kitchen. "Why is he named Blueness?" she asked as they trotted up a long flight of stairs. "My mama said when he was my age, he fell into a bowl of color the cooks uses on food, and he came out all blue. I can't believe he would be that undignified, but that's what my mama said, and she knows everything. Here we are. The man with the yellow magic lets the others visit him here." "I can't fit the hand if you won't hold still," a man was saying as Scrap entered. She went under a table and peered out. The room was big, with shelves of books along the walls and silk carpets to cushion feet from the stone floor. Scrap, heedless of the expense or quality of the carpet that extended under the table, kneaded it luxuriously, sharpening her claws. Dane examined the humans. The mage Redfern sat with Gissa of Rachne on a sofa. He worked on a metal skeleton hand fixed to the stump of the mage's wrist, making tiny adjustments to it with instruments from the table before them. Gardner leaned against the sofa's back, watching with interest. "If Gardner and Master Staghorn had kept their wits about them, this wouldn't be necessary," snapped the woman. Pain had aged her face 10 years. "Recriminations are due on your side of the ledger, Gissa." That smooth, oily tone could only be Tristan, Dane thought, and she was right. He sat in a chair beside the table where she had taken refuge. "You are no greenling, fresh from the country. Letting blood rain splash as you stirred it was—" "Tristan!" cried a feminine voice. The door opened and humans entered. Scrap looked out cautiously, and Dane saw Yolaine, Belden, and Alamid. "Tristan, Alamid showed us the warriors of the Southern Pass in his crystal. That's the king's champion out there, and the knight commander of the king's own." "Alamid shouldn't worry you with minutiae." There was more than a hint of poison and meaning in Tristan's voice. "Minutiae!" cried Yolaine. "The lioness and Raoul of Golden Lake are minutiae?" Tristan sighed. "My dear Yolaine, calm down." He went to a wine table and filled the goblets there, bringing one to her and keeping one. "If I face Lady Alana and the King Commander with weapons they have mastered, I might feel some concern. I am not such a fool. Believe me, we were prepared for this. In 3 days they will cease to be even a mild irritation. Belton went to the wine table, drank the contents of one of the goblets Tristan had filled, and poured himself a second drink. Why? My colleagues and I have prepared a little something to welcome the king's representatives. It's called blood rain. You might say Gissa already tested the brew for us, and that was before it reached its full potential. She cut off her own hand, Yolaine said. It was my hand or my life, snapped the female mage. If the poison had gotten into my blood, I would have rotted from the inside out. But how will you poison them? Yolaine asked. She finally sat down in the room's biggest chair. Surely they'll have magical protections on their camp. Tristan sat on the chair's arm, sipping his wine. I don't plan to go near them. At sunset the day after tomorrow, I will take the blood rain to the southern pass, where the river runs through the barrier, and dump it in. Gardner shivered. By sunrise of the next day, there won't be a living soul in that camp. Or anywhere else for 10 miles, Gardner said. Yolaine looked at him. What is that supposed to mean? Blood rain will kill anything that uses moisture from the river. The cold metallic voice was elements, animals, plants, it doesn't matter. The zone of destruction will extend nearly 5 miles on each side of the river, and 10 miles downstream. All the hair on the cat's, Dane's, back stood up. For how long? Belden finished his second cup of wine and poured a third. The effects begin to fade after 7 years or so, Gissa replied softly. It's necessary, Tristan said firmly. Our departure for the capital is scheduled for a week from today. Nothing can be permitted to interfere. What if they're warned? Demanded Yolaine. They might withdraw. If they do, they should meet 2 companies of mercenaries we have been keeping across the Gaulan border, replied Tristan. I took the liberty of calling them up in your name, and they will be at the southern gate in 3 days. Gardner, tell Rakash to warn Captain Blackthorn to bring his own food and water supplies. And no more Solomon? Belden's drinking hadn't affected his hands or voice as he poured another refill. He's still in the western pass, isn't he? I have a net I will use to bottle him up. The Emperor wants him alive. It is always a good idea to give His Imperial Highness what he wants. I don't like it. Yolaine's face was white under her makeup. I swore an oath to keep Dunlath safe when my father gave me his signet. This blood rain... My dear, you are over-scrupulous. Belden's tone was scornful. It isn't going to kill anything in Dunlath proper, is it? And what will you care once you sit on Jonathan's throne? Dunlath is a long way from Chorus. Besides, you heard Master Staghorn. It will all grow back in less than a decade. Tristan picked up one of Yolaine's hands and kissed it. Yolaine, leave command decisions to your generals. As queen, you must get used to sacrificing the lives of a few for the good of all. Think of this as a masterly stroke, which it is. In one move, you deprive the king of his champion and the commander of his most personal guard. Those are tactics you need. You have to convince not only your enemies, but your allies, that you deal promptly with opposition. Believe me, Gissa added, accented voice quite dry, once they see what is left of those who interfered with you here, they will hurt themselves for the chance to be the first to swear to you. Yolaine looked at all the mages, frowning. Why does it have to wait 2 whole days? Why can't you kill them now? Blood rain takes time, Redfern told her. Once combined, the ingredients must brew for 3 full days and 3 full nights. Tristan smiled at Yolaine in a way Dane thought Belden should object to. You see, Majesty, everything is under control. You chose your generals well. Yolaine looked as if she were about to object again, but Tristan put his finger to her lips. She sighed and looked around the room. Her eyes rested on Dane, and her mouth went tight. Picking up her goblet, she hurled it at Scrap, who ducked out the door soaked in wine. If I see that cat again, I'll kill it! Dane heard her snarl as Scrap raced down the stair. Now blueness will wash me again, the youngster told Dane with a sigh. Did you hear what you wanted to? I heard too much, replied Dane. I think I have to go. Thank you. A lot of people will owe their lives to you for this. She fled to her body, scrambling to rethink herself human. She succeeded only partly. There were claws in her hands, and she appeared to have a tail, but at least she was almost normal size as she entered her skin. Rolling up her bed, she jammed it under some bushes, thinking fast. Could she build wings for herself and fly up to Numer? You will tire and fall, Cloud informed her. Use common sense. If you are in a hurry to get to Numer, take the way you know best. But don't ride me. I'm not up to a mad dash to the Western Pass, not after today. Steal one of the big horses from the village. I will follow you as quickly as I can. Dane nibbled a fingernail and winced as the claw dug it into her lip. I hate to steal, she admitted, but I think I must. She sent out an urgent call. A large bony horse grazing nearby came racing over. You want the fastest horse in this valley? He told her. I am the one. Dane heard the other village horses agree. Rebel was the best at running. You don't look like much to me, Cloud said, looking the stallion over. Rebel snorted. That is what everyone thinks. That is why my man wins money when he races me against strangers, and that is why I am fed oats every day. I am not impressed by your oat ration, Cloud retorted. Seeing that Dane was about to mount, she said, Don't forget your pack, or the crossbow. Dane slung the pack over one shoulder and the bow over the other, after popping a bolt into the crossbow's notch and clipping it in place. Satisfied? She asked the pony. And don't take any sauce for this jackanapes. I will follow soon. Dane had ridden fast horses in the king's service and with the riders, but none matched Rebel. The ride through the village, past the crossroads, and onto the road to the Western Pass left her breathless. Once the last farmhouse was behind them, Dane began to call for Taka, Tate's dogs, and the pack as she hung on for her life. When she felt their reply, she told them what she had learned. They agreed to meet her at the barrier. No fighting, she ordered dogs in the pack. We don't have time, and the stakes are too high. She felt some wolves ignore her and some dogs. I mean it, she cried. I'll make you obey if I have to. We will not fight, she heard Brokefang say, iron strength in his thoughts. We will not fight, Prettyfoot said reluctantly. Any dog who wishes to fight may fight me right now. Dane relaxed. Let the dogs and the wolves concentrate on the real enemy, those who planned to dump blood rain in the Dunlath River in 2 days' time. In the pass, Dane halted Rebel under some trees and dismounted. Briskly she rubbed him down. You need to rest. You'll find grazing over there, and don't mind all the weird folk who are coming here. Nobody will hurt you. He lipped her shirt and wandered off to graze as Dane walked to the barrier. Shapes that looked like rocks on the slope under the 3/4 moon rose to their feet and came down to her. The long lake pack. Dane knelt so her eyes would be on a level with theirs. Adults and pups alike, they surrounded her in the greeting ceremony, licking her face and wagging their tails. Brokefang let the girl hug him fiercely about the neck and nuzzled her in reply. You will stop it? He asked. We will stop it, she told him. By ourselves if we must, but I don't think it will come to that. We have friends now. Two-leggers? That was Longwind, the conservative. They never cared before. They were not friends before, Dane replied firmly. They are friends now. Strong friends. They can go places and do things we can't, Hunt Brother. The dogs are almost wolves, offered Fleetfoot. If we sing, they listen. They have their own songs. Two-leggers, wolf killers. Longwind sneezed. I am too old for such changes. Brokefang turned on his uncle, teeth bared. You are not too old for changes until I say you are, he snarled, advancing. You will change for now because the pack needs you to change. When it is done, we will return to the old ways. If we can. The comment, unusually quiet and thoughtful, came from Frostfur. I like changes. The thin, high voice in Dane's mind was Runt. Me too, added Silly. We see new things and do new things. I hear them, whispered Dane. I can hear the pups. It's because of Scrap, maybe. She was a young cat at the castle, she explained. I was with her when I heard of the blood rain. Would we like her? Asked Barry. What is a cat? Thinking of the castle reminded Dane that she had a letter to write. She left the explanation of cats to Fleetfoot and Russet, who had met them in their journey to fetch her. Taking her pack, she entered the stone lean-to where she had hidden to write once before. With the help of her glowstone and cat eyes that had not changed during her ride, she put down all she had learned. Once the facts were laid out, she added, We must do something. I won't let them put blood rain in the river. I hope you know a smart way to fight them. If you don't, I will think of a stupid way to do it. I was wrong to call Stormwings monsters. The creature that could brew and use this blood rain is the real monster." Gently she blew on the wet writing to dry it, then put her tools away.